بمكتبته وبعلمه وبحفظه، ويتكلم أمام الناس العوام وكأنه شيخ الإسلام. طيب إذا سئل سؤالا يستحي يقول لا أعلم، فيجيب ولو بالجهل ولو بالظن ولو ما يجوز هذا. يعني بعض الناس يستحي يقول لا أعلم لا أدري. يقول كيف يسألوني وأنا أقول لا أعلم وأنا بينهم كالشيخ؟ وبعض الناس يسأل أسئلة قد تكون دقيقة، ما يقول خلاص أنا والله لا أعلم أسألكم مشايخ كبار وأجيبكم، لا، يستحي فيزيد في الضلالة والانحراف والجهل فيضر الناس. ولذلك تروى قصة جميلة وطريفة في شخص في اليمن يسمى الخنفشاري، وهذا الخنفشاري له قصة جميلة. هذا الخنفشاري كل سؤال يجيبه، كل سؤال. يعني الآن لو أنت الآن تختلق سؤالا جديدا من عندك، الآن سؤال تسأله يجيب السؤال. شوف، يعني لو تختلق سؤالا الآن، نكتب سؤالا جديدا، أي سؤال تقول له ما حكم كذا كذا، يعطيك جواب مفصل، قال كذا وقال كذا وقال كذا. سبحان الله، السؤال الآن اخترعناها، كيف جهزت الإجابة أنت؟ يستحي يقول لا أعلم. فسمي الآن أي واحد جاهل يفتي بغير علم نقول له إيش؟ أنت خنفشاري، أنت حالك الخنفشاري. هذا الإنسان متعالم. فقال يوم من الأيام سلوني ما دون العرش، يعني من العرش إلى الأرض كل شيء لا أعلمه، سلوني. يفتخر بنفسه بعلمه. قام له شاب صغير قال له أين أمعاء النملة؟ أحرج هذا الرجل. النملة أمعاؤها أين؟ في الصدر، في البطن، فما أقدر، فأحرج هذا. فالقصد إخواني أن الإنسان لا يتعالم ولا يزداد شطحا، لا، ما يجوز هذا. نقول نعم، ليس شرطا تكون عالما، لكن يا أخي انتبه لنفسك، لا تتعالم، قل ما تتعلم فقط، لا تزيد، لا تختلق، لا تكذب على الله ورسوله، لا تنحرج. والآن آفة طلاب العلم، هذا آفتهم هذه الآن، يستحي يقول أمام الناس لا يعلم. قل لا أعلم، ولا أعلم كما يقول علي بن طالب لما قال لا أعلم، قال ما أريحه على قلبي. سهلة، لكن التعالم هو مشكلة، يتعالم. ولذلك لما قيل أنه أحد من أبناء العلماء كان أبوه عالما ولكن ابنه كان جاهلا، فجلس مكان أبيه يفتي الناس، لكن ماذا كان يختلق هو الآن؟ يقول أنا لا أعلم شيء. إذا سألني سؤالا أقول المسألة فيها رأيان وعلى أبي التفصيل. انحاش من الموضوع يا شيخ تركي، زين يا شيخ ما هذا السؤال؟ قال والله المسألة فيها رأيان، والذي يعرف الرأيين أبوي يفصل له باكر. فهو ما يجيب، بس ما يقول لا أعلم. يا شيخ ما حكم كذا وكذا وكذا؟ قال المسألة فيها رأيان وعلى أبي التفصيل. الآن هو نجى نفسه. قام له واحد شاب صغير قال يا شيخ أفي الله شك؟ قال فيها رأيان وعلى أبي التفصيل. انفضح الرجل. فالقصد أن التعالم يفضح، المتعالم يفضح. نحن نقول لا، نتكلم بعلم وبصيرة ودين حتى لا يوصل دين الله عز وجل ما ليس منه.
So the Shaykh is saying now the fifth point, which is following on from the fourth point. The Shaykh is saying the part of the hadith where it says, even if it's an ayah, convey from me, even if it is one ayah or one sentence. And the Shaykh is saying here, the command is to convey, but it's not a condition that you need to become a scholar before you convey. So if you remember in the fourth point, the Shaykh is saying that you need to have knowledge and you need to have insight. But where does that end? The Shaykh is saying in the fifth point You don't need to become fully graduated and become a scholar, etc., in all fields in order to convey the religion. The Shaykh said that's not possible. It could even be impossible in certain scenarios for some people. Well, what we understand from this hadith is that Allah's Messenger is telling us that we are commanded to proclaim and convey as much as we know. The amount that you know, then you talk according to that amount. If there is firm insight in certain parts of Islam, that's the only part that you talk about. Anything beyond that, then we don't. Because when we start talking about things that we don't know about and go beyond our means, then you could end up saying something which is not true. Also on the other side of that, you don't have to become an alim and a big scholar in order for you to convey. Because if that becomes a condition, like we said before, that it's likely that it's not possible in certain scenarios, like the Shaykh said, that ilm is a huge ocean, as mentioned in Arabic, is an ocean. It's like it has no shores. So if that's the case, then when does that condition, be implemented? There is no benchmark. And it could also be, if you put this condition down, that a person needs to be a scholar, it could also mean that Allah and His Messenger end up being belied and rejected because you are saying, I'm not ready to say anything, because I'm not a scholar yet. And the Shaykh said that there are many incidents also of the kibar ulama, the senior scholars, the most learned of all people, saying, I don't know. And there are many instances of that. And the Shaykh is saying, if that's what ilm has done to them and knowledge has done to them, then how can it be that you have somebody who is young, who hasn't studied, who is still very much ignorant, and he's able to give fatwa in absolutely everything? You ask him a question, he has an answer for it all. And the Shaykh said that some people, they learn an ayah or two or surah or two, they memorize certain hadith, they memorize certain things, and then people treat them, or he thinks of himself as being like Ibn Taymiyyah, where he's able to talk about everything. The Shaykh said that this is not correct. Yes, we don't need to become an alim, and the Shaykh reiterated that point, but the point that we learn from this hadith is that what we learn and what we know with certainty, that is the amount that we teach. And that is the amount that we convey. It might be a lot, it might be medium, it might be very small and slight. And the Shaykh said that some people today, unfortunately, and this is a problem that's affecting a lot of people, the Shaykh is saying, some people, they have huge libraries, some people, they are known for the hifz, some people are known for different things, and that's what qualifies them to start talking and giving fatwa, and people then class that person as being a Shaykh and a mufti, and they give him this elevated platform, etc. And then what happens with that individual is that he finds it hard for him to admit his own ignorance sometimes. He finds it very hard for him to say, Allahu A'lam. Because the people are expecting an answer from this person. And because he's on that platform, how can he admit ignorance? How can he say, well, I'm not sure about this? And then what ends up happening is that he ends up speaking from what he thinks might be right, or something that he's not learned, but he thinks that is right, or he speaks out of his own ignorance, because now he is trying to protect his reputation as being the Shaykh, and he is expecting people to accept what he is saying. And if he was to say Allahu A'lam, then that could degrade his status. And the Shaykh is saying also that it could be that a question comes to him, and it's a very detailed question, it has a lot of complexities to it, but he answers the question straight away, without asking, without thinking about it, without looking at the complexities, etc., without looking at all the details. And the Shaykh said that that is a result of what we've just mentioned before, with that kind of problem that he has in not being able to admit that he is ignorant. And I'm saying this for myself, that it's not necessarily a student of knowledge or a Shaykh, it could be absolutely anyone. And the Shaykh said there is an example of a person in Yemen, and his name was, Kinfishar, isn't it? A name person called Kinfishar. And this person, the Shaykh said, anybody who asked him a question, he would answer it. Anybody answer a question, it doesn't matter how detailed it is. The Shaykh said, you can think of a scenario in your head, and you can make it as complex as you want. He will answer the question straight away. And he will give you a detailed answer. Even though he hasn't studied it, even though he doesn't really know what he is saying. And the Shaykh said that his name got spread as, being this Fishari, and that he doesn't say, I don't know. And one time he even said, boastfully in arrogance, he said, anything underneath the arsh, you can ask me about and I'll have an answer for you. Meaning, anything in the creation, I will have an answer for you. But the Shaykh said there was a young man that came to him once, and he defeated him with one question. He said, can you tell me where is the intestine of the ant? Where is the biological question? Where is the intestine of the ant? And this Kinfishari didn't know and he was defeated. The point here is that arrogance belittled him. If he had just said, I don't know from the beginning, then that would have been better for him. So the Shaykh is saying it's not a condition that you need to become an alim in order to convey the religion. You learn and you convey. You learn and you convey. But you don't start making things up. You don't start lying against Allah and His Messenger within that process. You learn, and as much as you learn, that is what you convey. And the Shaykh is saying it's become a very big problem with certain students of knowledge also now, that they are not able to say Allahu Akbar. They are not able to say I have no knowledge of this, or I'm not able to convey that message that you were asking me about. And like I said, the Shaykh has mentioned student knowledge, but it applies to all Muslims. The Shaykh quoted a statement from Ali ibn Abi Talib, who said that the easiest thing for me to say is Allahu Akbar. Because teaching requires me being thinking of what I need to say, and then I'm going to be responsible for what ejects from me. But the easiest thing for me to say is Allahu A'lam. And the Shaykh said that it's harder to teach than to say Allahu A'lam sometimes. And the Shaykh also continued in saying that sometimes there was also another incident of a father who was a Shaykh, and then the son sat in his place. So the son, the child, said, well, this is the answer that I have, but if you want more detail, then go to my father. And then another person came to him with an ayah of the Quran, do you doubt Allah? And he said, well, this is the answer that I have. If you want more detail, then go to my father. So now he was just repeating what he had made for himself rather than saying Allahu A'lam. And that caused his own defeat. And the Shaykh is saying here, to conclude this point, that if people start speaking without knowledge, without those conditions that we saw in part number 4, then basically what he is doing for himself is he's actually spreading ignorance and mistake, and that is actually going to give himself a bad reputation and not a good.
المسألة السادسة حتى تنال أو تقطف ثمرة التبليغ عن الله ورسوله ينبغي أن تتصف بالصدق مع الله، بالصدق مع الله والنية الصالحة الصادقة في التبليغ. بمعنى بعض الناس يبلغ دين الله يقول ألقي الكلمة وخلاص، نقول له لا، عليك مع إلقاء الكلمة أن تكون صادقا مع الله في هداية الناس، تكون حريصا على هداية الناس. ولذلك بعض الناس يعني لا يفقه هذه القضية. مع التبليغ ينبغي أن تكون صادقا مع الله أنك تبلغ دين الله وتريد هداية الناس، لا أنك خلاص أمر مجبور عليك مكلف عليك وتبي تلقيه وتمشي. لا، لابد مع التبليغ أن تكون عندك في قلبك نية صادقة مع الله عز وجل أنك تريد الهداية للناس. وهذا الذي نقوله الآن لكم أيها المسلمون في بلاد غير المسلمين، انقلوا دين الله، بلغوا دين الله حرصا على هداية الناس. أنتم مسلمون وتعلمون حاجة الناس إلى هذا الدين، فلا بد من تبليغ دين الله عز وجل مع صدق نية بين الله تبارك وتعالى. إن تصدق الله يصدق. إذا كنت صادقا مع الله عز وجل الله سيبارك بكلامك بتبليغك والناس تستجيب. لكن متى؟ إذا كنت صادقا مع الله تبارك وتعالى. خاصة في هذه البلاد الناس محتاجة إلى نشر الإسلام بالحكمة والسماحة والعدل واليسر والدين الصافي والرحمة، لا بالعنف ولا بالشطط ولا بالزيادة ولا إنما نقل دين الله عز وجل كما أمر الله عز وجل مع صدق مع الله تبارك وتعالى بلين وحكمة وعدل وإنصاف وسماحة ورحمة. والله لو اتصف الناس بهذه الصفة، بهذه صفة النقل الدين، للناس دخلوا دين الله أفواجا. فالله في هذه النقطة أن التبليغ يكون بصدق مع الله عز وجل وبلين وحكمة وسماحة.
The Shaykh said in point number 6 from this hadith, and one of the things we benefit from this hadith is how we can get fruits and how we can see the benefit in giving and conveying the message of Islam. The Shaykh said, if you want da'wah to be fruitful for yourself and for Islam, the person must have a sincere intention in doing so. The person must have a sincere intention in conveying. Some people, they say, well, we are commanded to convey, just go out and convey the message of Islam without trying to rectify your intention first. Some people are saying that it's something that they must do. Some people have been commanded by other people to do. Some people are not, given any importance in rectifying their intention before they give da'wah. The Shaykh saying, no, that's not correct. What a person must do is rectify his intention internally, and that he is sincere to Allah. That he's doing this, number one, for the sake of Allah, but also that he genuinely wants people to be guided. He genuinely wants people to be showed the right way. And some people don't understand that, the Shaykh said. Some people don't give this importance. But what we must do is give it importance. You must want for people to be guided internally. And the Shaykh is saying, now we are Muslims living in a non-Muslim country. We should have even more eagerness living in a non-Muslim country to convey the correct message of Islam and wish for them to be guided, because they have a great deal of need to be guided away from their misguidances, if we can call it that. The Shaykh says, you know how much people actually need Islam. So what we must do is rectify our intention and then convey. And the Shaykh said that if you do this and you rectify your intention and you show truthfulness with Allah, Allah will show truthfulness in you and your message. People will be guided and people will accept it. Only though if you have ikhlas and you have a level of truthfulness with Allah. And the Shaykh said people need Islam to be conveyed to them. Now, going on from the points that we had before with ilm and basira, but added to that in a way that is presented to them. The Shaykh is saying that you must understand that they must be shown Islam and it must be conveyed to them in a matter with ease, showing mercy, showing compassion, not showing violence, not being abusive, not being aggressive, not insulting people. The Shaykh is saying that is not correct. What we must do now, living in this country, in this time especially, is to understand Islam and then convey it with kindness and justice. And the Shaykh said that if you do this, if you do it with the best of manners, having ikhlas and sidq with Allah, and having sidq with other people that you would genuinely want them to be guided and have a better life, then you will see people entering into Islam in multitudes. So the Shaykh said, pay attention to this very, very important point here. Be sincere in yourself, use hikmah, and show the best of manners and ease and lenience. So.
المسألة الأخيرة وهي ختام هذه المحاضرة. ينبغي على كل واحد منا حتى يحقق التبليغ كما أراده الله منه أن يتصف بالهمة العالية. وأعني بالهمة العالية أنه لا يرضى بتبليغ أقل القليل، إنما يكون له همة صادقة وحرص ويتكلم وينشر الدين ليلا ونهارا في كل وقت. لا يعني كلامي هذا أنه ولو آية خلاص التقليل، لا، ينبغي أن يكون عندك همة عالية، لا ترضى أن تهدي شخصا واحدا، وإنما أن تهدي طائفة وقبيلة وجماعة. صاحب الهمة العالية لا يرضى إلا بالكثير. فمعنى كلامي هذا، نعم ولو آية هذا أقل قليل، لكن لا نحتاج أصحاب همة عالية يبلغون آيات وآيات وآيات، وهذا يكون بالحرص. النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم عندما جاءه ملك الجبال وقال مرني أن أطبق بينهم الأخشبين، عندما عذبوا النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم، فملك الجبال قال خلاص قل لي أنا الآن أهلكهم. قال له لا، لعل الله أن يخرج من أصلابهم من يوحد الله عز وجل. من أصلابهم يعني النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يفكر إيش؟ بالجيل الثالث والرابع، لعلهم يوحدون الله تبارك وتعالى. لا نكون أقل همة من حيوان ذكره الله عز وجل في القرآن. كلنا رجال وأصحاب قوة ومبادئ نتكلم. الله ذكر لنا قصة طير وهو الهدهد. ما صنع الهدهد؟ هدى الله بسببه قبيلة ايش؟ بلقيس كلها، صح؟ هدهد تأخر عن سليمان وتعجب كيف تعبدون الشمس، وغاب على التوحيد، ودعا سليمان بلقيس حتى أسلمت. هدهد. طيب معقولة يكون أفضل منه؟ فلا بد أن يكون لك همة عالية، وخذ هذا الهدهد قائدا لك، قدوة لك. هدى الله بسببه ماذا؟ بلدة كاملة. واضح؟ فنقول لا يعني كلامي ولا آية خلاص، لا، لابد من الهمة العالية ألا ترضى إلا بالكثير. رب إنسان بكلمة يهدي الله به جماعة من الناس. فأختم وأقول الناس بحاجة لنا أيها الإخوة إلى ديننا وإلى شريعتنا، لكن أن تنقل هذه الشريعة الذهب بطبق من ذهب، بلسان من ذهب، بخلق من ذهب، بأعمال من ذهب. لا تكون أنت سببا لصد الناس عن الدين. الله ماذا قال؟ ربنا لا تجعلنا فتنة للقوم الظالمين. كيف؟ أن تصدهم عن دين الله بالكلام السيء، بالغلظة، بالشدة، بالغلو، بالتطرف، هذا كله لا يجوز. فأقول لابد لك من همة عالية وحرص واهتمام حتى تنشر دين الله تبارك وتعالى. من اتصل بذلك وفقه الله عز وجل وأجره الله تبارك وتعالى.
The Shaykh said, final point number 7 from this hadith, and it's extremely important, and it includes every single one of us, is that every single one of us must have a zeal to convey the message of Islam, and that he has high hopes and ambitions when doing so. Not a small, short-sighted gain, but that he thinks of a long-term plan, and he thinks that this is going to improve and get bigger and bigger. The Shaykh is saying what we must do is that we have this strategy of conveying the religion. Firstly, the Shaykh mentioned in the previous point, we have ikhlas towards Allah, we rectify that. But then we also start talking and learning, and then talking and learning, and we continue that on a daily basis, day and night, the Shaykh said. The Shaykh said that a person who has this level of ambition and high hopes will never be sufficed with just saying, I'm going to learn one ayah and I'm just going to convey that one ayah, even though that's what this hadith says. The hadith is saying that we learn and we speak, and we learn and we speak, and according to the level of knowledge that you have, that's how you will speak. But one thing we don't understand from this hadith is that a person learns one ayah and he just becomes satisfied with that, and he proclaims that one ayah over again. And the same thing also applies to the amount of people that he speaks to. If a person guides one person, he doesn't think, okay, well, I've guided one person, that's enough. No, the Shaykh said that the person who is making tabligh and wants to convey the religion correctly and have the correct understanding of the religion must have that ambition to change large groups of people, to enable large groups of people to become better. And he has high hopes and he has high ambitions. Yes, the Shaykh said, reiterating the point that yes, the hadith says one ayah, but again, this shows us that this part is talking about our ability. But there is also another part that we learn from this hadith, which is implicit, is that we must also have a level of eagerness ourselves to learn more and then convey that thing. And an example the Shaykh gave, when the Prophet ﷺ went to Ta'if, the people at Ta'if rejected him and they harmed him and they were violent towards him. And then the angel of the mountains came down and he said to the Prophet ﷺ, we can crush Ta'if if you want us to, because they rejected you and they had. The Prophet ﷺ said no. Hopefully from their lineage there will be people who say La ilaha illallah. So the Shaykh said, look at this. From their lineage, the Shaykh the Prophet ﷺ himself had high aspirations and ambitions. He was thinking about the second generation, the third generation, and the generations that came after. Why? So that they can say La ilaha illallah, and then that Islam would become successful. So the Shaykh is saying also, there's another example in the Quran. He said, don't make an animal, a bird, more wise and more successful than you. You are a human being, has been given free will and intellect and those things that animals have not been given. Don't make one bird that's been mentioned in the Quran more successful than you because of his ambitions and high hopes. Allah mentions the poo-poo, the hudhud in Surah Sabah. Now Sulaiman was summoning all the animals, but that bird was absent. And the Shaykh said, why was he absent? Because, number one, he didn't come to the Prophet Sulaiman's command because he saw a group of people who were worshipping the sun. And because of his jealousy of Tawheed, and he wanted people to be removed from this practice, he was delayed behind. He then disobeyed Sulaiman in that order. Then he came later on. And this clearly shows you the high ambition of just one small bird. And the Shaykh is saying, now look, what happened with that bird? Take him as a role model. That bird conveyed a message to Sulaiman, and eventually a whole group, a whole nation, in actual fact, became Muslim because of the high ambition that that bird had. So the Shaykh said, yes, the hadith says one ayah. That doesn't mean that we sacrifice ourselves and we become sufficient, just one ayah. No, what it means is that we learn and we talk, we learn and we talk. But we should also have high hopes and ambitions, and we should do this obviously with sidq and ikhlas with Allah. And the Shaykh said to conclude this lecture, this religion needs us. This religion needs us to convey our message. But what we need for this religion to be conveyed properly is gold will produce more gold. Gold will produce more gold. So if your tongue and your speech is of gold, your actions are of gold, your akhlaq is of gold, your statements are of gold, your interactions with other people are of gold, then that will produce gold to be, replicated within society. And the Shaykh said it could also be that us thinking that we're conveying the message of Islam, we're actually blocking Islam from spreading. Allah says in the Quran that we supplicate, oh Allah, don't make us a fitna for those people who are oppressive. And the Shaykh said, what does that mean? How can we become a fitna? How can we become a trial to an oppressive people? The Shaykh said, by us blocking them from having the correct understanding of Islam. How can that happen? Muslims become violent, Muslims become extreme, Muslims become abusive, Muslims showing bad manners, Muslims insulting. All of those things then will portray a negative and not the correct interpretation of Islam. So the Shaykh said that if we rectify ourselves and we produce goodness in ourselves, in our understanding and goodness in ourselves, then we can then convey that goodness. And the Shaykh said that if you did this, then you will find a lot of barakah, and you will find people accepting what we are trying to convey from that correct message of Islam.
نسأل الله جل وعلا في هذه المحاضرة وننفع بها إن شاء الله. وهذا فيه أسئلة أو في كذا محاضرين
باللغة لو ترجم لو في أسئلة تقول.
If anybody got any questions, the Shaykh said he finished by making dua, and he asked Allah to make this a blessed gathering where we have benefited from. And the Shaykh said if anybody has any questions.